Okay, so I guess we're live with the Degen Hour. I'm still waiting for Stephen to join. I'm also not quite sure like how this is streaming. This is the first time. So what I might just do is check Pangolin and just see pretty much what it's looking like. It should be live. So there you can see we're live on Twitter. If anyone can't hear me or if anyone's struggling with anything, please let me know. There's Stephen. He's joined in. So we can add Stephen up here too. Yeah, I don't know, Stephen, if you're talking.
Can you hear me?
Hear me?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing,
I can hear you, but you're very low. It's not very. Can you hear me okay?
I'm going to refresh really quick. 1 second.
Okay, cool. So for Degen Hour, kind of the rough kind of thing that we're thinking about doing was to kind of do it, obviously a live stream, and then we're thinking of doing it in GatherTown. But like I'm in GatherTown at the moment, and no one's actually in GatherTown. So what I might do is I might say we cancel the GatherTown, and then if we can figure it out for next week, we can kind of we can kind of track back. So there you can actually see Stephen's joined me in GatherTown, but no one else has. Yeah. He's still soft, and I don't know if that's because I'm collating all of my microphones across all these things. So let me close GatherTown and see if that fixes it.
Okay, could be possible. Can you hear me a little better now?
It's still quite soft, hey. It's not too bad. Like I think I can get away with it. Like, okay,
so up close and personal. Maybe that'll make it a little better.
Cool. So yeah. So I think we're streaming. I mean, so what we're doing is we're streaming to like a whole bunch of platforms. Streaming to LinkedIn for the boomers amongst you and the suits, and then obviously Twitter. Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So really, like wherever you want to kind of your viewing pleasure, you can kind of go. What we thought we'd do is just kind of kick off. I mean, do we want to do introductions? Like, is that like a cool way to kind of start it?
I think that's a power move. Let's start by doing some quick intros. Justin, do you want to start?
Yeah, cool. I'll start. So if you were like early days of Avalanche, you probably would have seen me popping around under Harry Seldon. Yeah, been in Avalanche pretty much from the start. When Pangolin launched, was there for the airdrop. And yeah, so kind of like been involved in Sherpa. Obviously, I'm kind of like I style myself as the chief pangolin herder of Pangolin. And we were community voted. Myself, Leo, and Brandon in June. We were voted into the core team once Ava Labs kind of handed over or transitioned over from running it into a community run project. And yeah, been here ever since. Yeah.
I would say you're in charge of being early.
Yeah.
Cool. And my name's Steven. I'm head of strategy here at Penguin. I joined about 2 or 3 months ago now. I guess I got into crypto like circa 2016. Was originally attracted to driving passive income through building Ethereum mining computers. And yeah, somehow I'm here now.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to say Steven's been an amazing addition to the team. Been very stoked. Okay, cool. So I think like the boring stuff, I mean, we had like a mic check. Yeah, I'm not going to, like, again, this is an informal session. So if people are expecting this to be like super polished, it's probably not, it might become polished, but generally it's the Degen Hour, right? So like Degen's not really going to be polished anyway. But we got to do a disclaimer, right? So I've just copied Coin Bureau's disclaimer because I don't want anyone coming after me if they lose money or us. So me and Steven are not financial advisors. The only thing we're here for is education and entertainment. That's it. If you need a financial advisor, please reach out and maybe we can find one for you. But we are not financial advisors. We're just doing this for education and entertainment purposes. Yeah, that's it really. Like, I'll just do a quick check to see if we're getting any like people pinging me because things are not working. Oh, fancy that. Let me go look on Telegram. I think I haven't gotten anyone shouting at me yet, so it seems like it's working. But again, just hit me up on Twitter if you find that things aren't working. Cool. And then what we're gonna do is, I guess we're gonna do like basically our agenda, right? So the agenda is really, we want to kind of start talking about some of the projects on Avalanche and expand into kind of like these use cases. So what we thought was, let's focus on, like, you know, everyone's talking about Crabada, like it's awesome, like almost everyone I know is involved. But what I found is a lot of people find there's like there's a barrier to entry because of how much a crab costs. So like me, for example, like I was like, oh, like, you know, I'd love to get into this, but like, how do I justify spending that amount of money when I don't really know what I'm doing? So what we thought was we would take you through how to loan money in DeFi, and then from there, how you can then use that loan to then theoretically purchase a crab, and then Stephen would take us through some kind of crab math.
Crab math.
And that's Stephen's term. So like, you know, trademark pending. Okay, cool. So we're happy. Do we want to jump straight into bank? Like, I've got like a little throwaway wallet here. Like it's got like, I don't know, it's got like $4 in it, which is also quite cool. I've just noticed Restream doesn't show that wallet, which is great, because I had a few security concerns. So I can probably switch wallets. So let's actually talk, like, how would you know, let's say you're an aspiring degen and you kind of want to keep an eye on the market. So what you can actually do is, I'm running this locally, just so that, because we thought people might. So this is actually kind of like an Ethereum like throwaway wallet I use, like just for kind of odds and ends. But let's say, for example, you were following Crabada, you could actually come in here and then add that, and you could also add treasure under the sea. Now what you've got is, on the new Pangolin UI, you can actually track those tokens. Sorry, TS. To be fixed before Tuesday. But what you can see is you can actually track Crabada, and you know, Crabada is actually doing fantastically well. But now let's say, for example, you want to, let's say you got 2,000, or I mean, what do we think is a good entry point price for crab, Stephen?
Yeah, so I guess, like, you know, you could almost look at the charts, whether it's you know, through our like trading view, like terminal, or whatever you're most comfortable with. But I mean, there's kind of one of those. It's a pretty bullish looking chart right now. You see almost one of those like cup and handle formations and a bit of a breakout. But maybe you ape in right now and you don't want to miss the opportunity. I totally think if you had a little bit of patience, it wouldn't be the worst idea to set some limit orders, maybe around 25, 26 cents, and some.
Okay, good advice. That's good advice. And I tend to agree, Stephen. Everyone's getting into Crabada. Like, I think you know, it's definitely something that you want to be paying attention to. So let's say let's do this, like, kind of some simple maths, right? Like, let's say, for example, you have $2,000, and you want to like buy a crab for $3,000. Well, okay, so how do you make up that shortfall in DeFi, right? So I'm assuming everyone has a MetaMask wallet, but let's talk through a basic scenario of loaning. So, you know, you can go to Benqi, you know, you could go to Aave, you could go to Trader Joe. There's quite a lot of lending solutions. I think, like, the way I see it is, as chains mature, there's like this natural progression. So like Avalanche is quite mature at the moment. I mean, it's a year. DeFi in Avalanche will be a year old on Tuesday. Like, think about that. Like, because before Pangolin, there was no DeFi on Avalanche. So Avalanche and I think all EVM chains kind of go through this like cycle where they launch the DEX, you know, like an EVM chain it's pointless until a DEX comes because people can't trade. And then what happens is a few months later, depending on how quick Chainlink is, oracles come onto that chain. Once oracles come onto the chain, that then feeds the next boom. And that's what then brings the lending into the ecosystem. And that's when you saw Benqi, Trader Joe, Aave started coming, all of that, right? I'm gonna go through Benqi just because, you know, like I'm a big fan of Benqi. But again, we're not suggesting who to use. We're just giving you guys like a kind of run through of how to DeFi, right?
It's like kind of an Avalanche native like protocol. They actually also provide higher like collateralization ratios for AVAX, which is kind of nice, and they're OG. But you know, there's also the Aaves and the Compounds of the world, and plenty of other great protocols for lend borrow.
So let's say so a simple scenario is so back in like obviously in you know kind of like banks and all of those like institutions, right? So generally what will happen, I mean, I'm going through this problem at the current moment, is my bank won't touch me. Like they will not give me a loan for anything. They hate me because I'm full-time in crypto. So in the traditional world, you got to go to the bank. You got to go with like a shit ton of paperwork. You've got to pretty much be in a position where you don't need the money, and then they give you a loan. So that's how like the traditional banking system works, right? You've got to prove to them you have a job, that you've got like earnings, that you can repay this loan. You go through this kind of whole process. In DeFi, it's different. You put up collateral. So you say, I've got like $1,000 and I want to loan $500. So if I actually default on that payment, so I don't make that payment or something happens, they've still got that collateral in order to cover their risk. Because there's no middleman, there's no intermediary. That's how DeFi lending works. I think personally, we're going to see some innovation in that space. I think can't remember the protocol, but there's a lot of DeFi protocols that are now looking at your on-chain history to derive a credit score. Some of them even go further. They actually link to your bank account through Plaid. I think they link through Plaid, and then they look at your bank account to derive a credit score, and based on that credit score, can actually theoretically do non-collateralized loans. So I do think we're going to see some evolution of the lending space, which I think is pretty cool. But we're just going to talk about the current one. So what? Let's say, for example, I need let's say I want USDC. So what I do is in this wallet. Let me just check this wallet. I think I've got like $31 in AVAX. So let's actually say I want to swap that into USDC. So let's just look at the markets here. So let's say I'm going to use USDC, or let's use USDTE. Let me close that. Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll take my AVAX. Let me switch this. And I might take 50% because I just want to leave enough money for gas. So again, just like bear with me. This is a throwaway wallet. And you can see I've only got AVAX in this wallet. So I'm going to do a swap here. So I'll get like $15. You can use USDC as collateral. I know like when Benqi first started, one of the tokens, anyway, I'm pretty sure you can use USDC as collateral. Cool.
I'm like pretty sure. Yeah, that would work. Or if not, you can use like AVAX as collateral.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, do you want to do that? Well, let's show people how to do a swap on the new UI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So for Penguin's first birthday, we're releasing a brand new UI, and this is an inside scoop that I don't think anyone else has seen so far. So if you're tuned in right now, that is the alpha leak of the day.
Yeah. So there you can see we've also got a portfolio. Like I've been using this UI for about 3 weeks now, like in my daily workflow. And this portfolio section is my favorite. It's so cool, man. Like it also picks up your LPs and stuff. So it will like show you your LPs. It'll show you your single-sided staking. Like I use it often, like probably too often. Okay, cool. So now we've got USDC. We can go into Benqi and we can just choose it, right? We're going to put in the full amount, like old big spender Trollop over here with his $10. and deposit that.
Yeah, so like just about the way it works, like fundamentally to like kind of just add color to what you were saying, Justin. I think like the key thing to know here is whether you're adding whatever asset you're adding as collateral, Benqi is going to support Avalanche, like AVAX, a lot of the popular stable coins, wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ether, you know, like Chainlink or their native token QI. And for each like token that you add as collateral, they have some like risk factors built in because this whole system, you know, would be vulnerable to the price of tokens crashing. The over collateralization trick like really adds a high level of security to the system. This is the concept that like rather than like if you were taking out a loan to buy a house and you put down 10%, with like a lot of crypto native banking products, you can't take out more than you've put in. So you'd have to actually put in more than you're taking out. And this provides the system with security that there's never a run on the system. But with that, you have this kind of new risk that if the prices move, and we all know it's crypto, prices can appreciate rapidly, and prices can go down too. So they put this concept of collateral ratio on for each token, and with AVAX, I think that they put a 70% collateralization ratio, which means that if you put in $100 worth of AVAX and then you borrow some money, the money that like the value of your collateral always has to be it has to be more than 70, like your loan, what's the right way to put it, so what you actually take out can't be worth more than $70 at any point in time.
Yeah, otherwise you're at risk of getting liquidated.
Yeah, it goes both ways though, because like you're kind of like accruing like interest that you owe on what you borrowed. So let's say like you put in $100 of AVAX and then you borrow $50. It'll liquidate you if all of a sudden your portfolio was not such that the like what you borrowed is worth like your collateral has to be like 70% of that total thing, otherwise you get liquidated. Let's see. I'm gonna get some math up here so I can give exact numbers on that situation.
I think I'll take a little segue here because like there's some interesting things that a lot of people don't realize about hacks in DeFi. So I think a lot of people new to the space, they come in and they see these hacks and you see these kind of banner headlines like wormhole got hacked, or Sifu stealing your money, and they see all these things and it can be very intimidating to newcomers. So let's talk a little bit about one of the biggest hack or attack vectors in DeFi. So generally the biggest one that I think the new wave of hacks are going to focus on bridges, but like for the last year, most of the hacks rely on price variance. So, for example, if you're in a lending protocol and you are lending US dollars, and for some reason the protocol thinks that US dollar is actually only 50 cents, well, then you obviously getting a lot more bang for your buck. You're getting double your money. So the way that most hacks occur in DeFi is the hackers manipulate the price point on the DEX. So what they'll do is they'll get a flash loan. So what a flash loan is it's actually like you get a loan within one block. So you can actually get a loan to like however deep. So let's say there's 10 million. I mean, how much UST? There's probably about 10 million or close to 10 million UST on Pangolin. So if you got a flash loan, you could actually loan 10 million bucks. Now what you could do is you could do something that dumps that price. So you dump that price, then you'd go to the lending protocol, get the double, and then sell it off for a different token. Okay, so this is why lending solutions have to use oracles, because an oracle is a much safer price feed than a DEX. You can talk about TWAP. Some people will throw TWAP into the equation. It's a time-weighted average price. That's what it means. But just when you're thinking about these things, and most DEXs, their prices shouldn't be relied upon. So if you see a protocol and they're saying, oh yeah, no, we get the prices from dexes and not oracles, if they're a lending solution, that's generally something you should be a bit like, I'm always like, ooh, I don't know about that, mate. Like, there's smart people that like are doing things, but it's just something to be aware of. A lot of those and we saw, like, I don't want to like badmouth anyone, but we saw it with V, right? So V came into the space and they're like, oh yeah, no, like we've designed this like, new way of getting price feeds that's like outside the scope of oracles. And then what happened? They got hacked. So like, I'm sure someone has figured out, and I think Tarun has figured it out in his new thing. Like, I trust Tarun, but I wouldn't trust maybe in a non-team. Maybe I'll put it that way. Like,
it's definitely an attack vector that's easy to go after for these lending and borrowing protocols, because if you look at just like let's use like that same TUS token, like right now there's something like let's see, there's like $9 million of volume on it recently in the last 24 hours.
9 million. Nice.
It's crazy. I mean, across like all of Avalanche, it's pretty wild stuff. But like, what really matters when you're trading in decentralized exchanges is like the depth of your liquidity for a protocol and for like the users that want to trade it. So if you're like a stable coin, for example, I'll pick on UST for now. So if you look at like Terra UST on Pangolin, if you make a big trade, even though there's like $5-10 million of liquidity pools in just 24 hours after them going live on Pangolin, making a swap that's like large, like if you're making $100,000 trades, $1 million trades, it can have a big impact on the price, because the way like DEX pricing works is it fundamentally always assumes that the two sides of each pool are equal to each other. So if you take like, there's a pool here and let's say there's $1 million of AVAX and $1 million of UST. If you come in and take $100,000 worth of the UST out and buy that with AVAX, well, the AVAX is now there's a lot more AVAX and less UST. So if those are still equal to each other, the price would have changed, and essentially that stable coin for UST had shifted in price a little. So there's a lot of like arbitrage opportunities that like are created around these things to create stability for stable coins, where you're incentivized to like mint and burn them to keep the price in line. But it's like a big consideration for the lending and borrowing solutions that we're just talking about. So if they rely on the pricing of these pools, it opens up an attack vector that serious whales can exploit. So they have to rely on the price feeds that you're talking about, Justin.
Exactly. Yeah. It's intriguing. Like the way that like all of these kind of mechanics are kind of playing themselves out. It's fascinating. Yeah, I'm still waiting for this thing. I think it might be because like I'm on like a kind of burner wallet, and I don't know if gas is going crazy at the moment. Maybe. Where is it? Over here. Let's just have a. So another tip: if like your transactions are super slow, so you can see Crabada's going mental at the moment. Like you get so if you want to kind of see where the gas is happening, because sometimes, I mean, obviously Avalanche is blazingly fast. Like there's no doubt about that. But so, I mean, it doesn't stop, these kind of big events that occur that like jam up the network. And yeah, so if you want, you can kind of go to Snowtrace, and then under Snowtrace more, go to Gas Tracker, and it'll show you kind of like, there's a pending queue of 5 transactions, average block size is 5. You can kind of see it in real time, right? And you can see who's the biggest gas guzzlers, and you can see Crabada's like clearly winning that race, which is actually, I mean, I know we kind of jumping around a bit, but like, I think like the Crabada team, I think they formally announced that they're doing a subnet, which makes complete sense. And that's going to be awesome for them and the ecosystem, I think. Let me just check. I don't know if this is maybe. Yeah. I don't know if I want to juice my oh, there you go. Okay. So like, I don't know, like, so we don't really know what the audience kind of level is, I guess, because, you know, I guess you start off as like, when you come into DeFi, there's so many concepts and it's so overwhelming. So I'll just talk a little bit about gas. Maybe people understand this, maybe people don't, right? But like, you can, like, gas, you can actually speed up your transaction, right? So when you are like clicking, say you're going into like, you know, a DEX and you swap in, when you confirm that swap, MetaMask actually interprets the gas. So it'll give you like a suggestion, right? Like, so do you want your transaction to be fast? Do you want it to be average, or do you want it to be slow? So you can actually pay less gas if you're a more patient person. You can also, like, I'm kind of impatient generally, so I might juice it a little, like if like the network's a little congested. But like you guys saw, like we were talking for like 5 minutes. I don't know, maybe less. I don't know, however long it is, but that transaction took time because the network's congested. So you could juice it, or you could just be patient. And that's kind of like why gas is there. So you hear a lot of these kind of people talk about, let's do gasless subnets, and let's do like the layer 2s. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, they're always like, oh yeah, nah, we're super cheap. And then they get like DDoSed. So what a DDoS is where someone just like takes this, like, they just hit you with like a lot of requests and they take your network down, right?
This is like one of the fundamental things about like why crypto does have gas costs too, because like you have to pay to use the network, and it makes the networks, you know, fundamentally resistant. It would cost quite a lot of money to take down the networks, as opposed to just like refreshing the page a bajillion times with a DDoS attack or something like that. You know, maybe more sophisticated things than that. But yeah, that like gas cost actually has a purpose in securing the network in a lot of ways.
And that's the thing. Like, so like, I think it's going to be super interesting to see how subnets evolve. Like, if you choose gas, how are they going to optimize for DDoS protection? So like, and people in crypto, like, you know, excuse my language, they're dicks, man. Like, so like, you know, people will attack you. Like, your competitors will attack you. I mean, like, we've got very good friends at like Axelar, and like, you know, they were under attack. You know, Wormhole under attack. So like, you have to think deeply about these types of things to ensure that, yeah, I mean, people talk about safety and it's like, oh, we tend to forget sometimes, like, it's quite blasé. Like, you know, people used to care about like 500,000 hack, and now like it's like 100 million like a hack. And people, like, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. I'm like shit posting on Twitter. I'm like, so yeah, it's anyway.
I think my like simple gas tip for everyone that I think, Justin, you probably have this one pretty on lock, but when you see like your gas recommendations from Etherscan, you can always like, you know, click on them and edit the suggestion, and sometimes you'll see high, medium, low, but you know, it's going to recommend like what the like sort of normal gas is right now, and if you just like up it by 1, you know, like you end up getting processed pretty quickly most of the time, unless like everyone decides to transact at the same time right after that.
That's actually a great tip, because you basically front run in the regular users.
It's like you're standing outside the club and like you like hold a 20 in the air to bounce it. That's what, you know, what's really happening here.
I normally jump it by more than 1, but I think 1's super smart. I think that's way smarter than what I've been doing.
Do you remember back like this was a while ago? I was actually I think it was before I got like super deep into Avalanche. Like, do you remember Art Blocks, the like generative art marketplace?
Yeah.
Did you mess around with that? I remember like I was letting the dogs outside and I was explaining what happened to me on like Art Blocks to my girlfriend. I was like, I think that's where I came up with the analogy about like, you know, tipping or like holding some money in the air to the bouncer at a club. But yeah, it's like I had just made another transaction. I was making some trade and I think I had like low gas. I must have like messed up, right? And like I was actually prepared to pay like an enormous gas cost, because when like on Ethereum, like the network can get clogged up pretty quickly if there's a really hot like NFT selling, and like, you know, there's 10,000 of them. So 10,000 people are trying to make a transaction, and Ethereum can process like efficiently, like maybe like 10 or 12 transactions per second. So 10,000 transactions, 10 per second. Do the math. It doesn't happen too quickly. So like people were willing to pay to cut the line, and like that becomes a gas war really, really fast because there's everyone else sees that you're holding $10 above your head, and they say 11 or 12 or and just ratchets up like crazy. But I said I was going to pay like maybe a couple $100 for gas just to buy an NFT, and like my transaction before it got stuck. So after that, like art blocked mint finally chilled out, my like transaction came in with a big gas cost and failed because it was hard to sort
out. Watching Etherscan like with like transactions is like one of the worst things, man. Like I got so frustrated with it like about a year ago, like basically when I started playing with Avalanche more. It's also the same reason why, like, if you have like these new Avalanche are talking about subnets, right? Because like, because everyone is aping in because so that like I've got an Avalanche theory. Basically, I don't give a shit what the project does. If it's going through Avalanche, I'm probably buying. Like I'm a simple man, and I used to overanalyze these things, but like Mark and the team do such a good job of vetting projects, and their whole business model relies on the projects going through them doing big numbers. So
it's the Avalanche heuristic. If it's on Avalanche, I invest.
Yeah, pretty much. But then again, the thing is, the people. So Avalanche has become a bit of a whale game. I mean, I don't know if we're allowed saying that, but like it kind of has. So what happens if you're not a whale? I mean, then what you do, you're trying to ape in on the initial DEX offering, right? And then it's got like absolute. So Dexalot has a Dexalot anyway. A little bit of alpha.
Yeah,
I think it's
thing.
yeah. And the Dexalot guys are super smart, right? So what they've got is they've actually got like an algorithm where you can find this theoretical market price of that token before it hits the market. So generally how DEX launches work. Should we go into the segue or should we kind of carry on? I mean, I know we're diverting a little bit away from.
But we'll save it for another time, actually, I think.
Cool.
Wait, I think we should make sure that we cover the limit orders. We show how to like actually place a limit order. If we do it for like TUS, we could do it for something else. And then we should also people the super farms because that's a hot topic, especially in the new UI.
Okay, cool. So I'll just quickly, so if you finish off on the Benqi, you'll add that USDC as collateral. Okay, so then I'm going to use that USDC as collateral. What that means now is I've got like $15 in a smart contract. That means Benqi knows that I've got $15 and I'm good for $15. So that means they'll lend me a certain amount on top of that. So that's pretty much how banking works, right? Like there's obviously a lot more complexity and kind of ins and outs and strategies around it. But now you can see once this refreshes, I've got that as collateral, which then means I can borrow against it. So we might just.
Hey, Dustin, here's one thing you should do just for everyone watching right now. If you click on the markets button on Benqi on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the markets, the overviews tab, my bad. And then if you click on USDCE, which you were just depositing, it shows like these are charts about like how much is being supplied and how much is being borrowed. But what I really wanted people to see is the collateral factor. So it says 80% collateral factor, which means at the maximum, Justin put in $15. So if you put in $100, you'd be able to take out maximum 80. But if you goes any bit over that, you would get liquidated. So you want to leave yourself a pretty solid buffer, especially if you're using volatile assets rather than stable coins as your collateral.
And this is why, like, if like people talk about like Danny got liquidated, and there's all these kind of like theories about like, is he liquidating himself? Anyway, we're not going to get into that drama. But Danny got liquidated because his collateral factor got fucked. So basically he lent money with the treasury assets from Wonderland, and he missed his collateral factor. So what happened was these bots get paid, liquidation bots get paid to then take it, right, to liquidate him, and he got liquidated. So you've got to manage that. That's why, like, I'm actually quite a nervous investor in a lot of ways. I'll never hit the maximum collateral. Like if I've got like $100, I might only loan $40.
What's your heuristic for this one? Like, do you like, I usually like use Benqi. I guess I'm a little bit of a degen with this one. Like if I know I want to like invest in the token, what I usually do is I like throw, let's say I want to put $1,000 into TUS, and I would probably take like $3,000 worth of AVAX, and then like borrow like $1,000 worth of USDC to buy TUS, because like my thinking here is I'm bullish on AVAX. So if I wouldn't want to, like, you want to borrow like a stable coin, because if you think the thing you're going to buy is going to go up, let's say TUS is at 30 cents right now ish. If you borrow like a stable coin, you're paying 8% interest annually for it. So like if you held that stable for, didn't repay that stable for a whole year, you'd owe like, what would we borrow, $1,000? So like you would owe $80 on that. It's not such a, so like if you think you're going to make more than $80 by holding that TUS for whatever period of time, it's totally worth it. So if you bring it if you bring your AVAX, borrow a stable coin, turn it into, like, you swap it on Pangolin for something that you're bullish on. If that thing goes up in value, you have more than enough to pay back your loan at the end of the day. So you can do this all like right away. You don't have to like call up your bank broker, wait for 2-3 weeks, 2-3 months, or like for them to like make a decision and like give you the money you're looking for. This is all instant.
So can I play a bit of devil's advocate there? So the way I see it is, like, definitely it's a viable strategy, but like how much maintenance goes into those strategies? Like, and I worry, like, so the thing is, like, so a strategy that takes a lot of work will often outperform a strategy like a set and forget strategy. But then it depends, right? Because, with some of the tools, some of these strategies you have to manage, you can't be online all the time. So like what happened to Danny, he was sleeping and he woke up and he lost $10 million. Like, so, and these are volatile markets. So it's like, where like, it's always about the balance for me. It's like, yeah, cool. But I don't want to be waking up at 3 a.m. and have lost all my money.
If you are down to wake up in the middle of the night, there's also tons of tools coming out for those things. You could use limit orders on Pangolin in the very near future, which would allow you to sort of set some protections for yourself. If you don't want your tokens to drop through the floor, you set sort of a limit as like a stop loss. Or like there's other services that are just like, kind of similar to like IFTTT, if this then that, for like any sorts of like Web 2.0 or like home automations. There's like HAL XYZ or like Espresso. These are great platforms for kind of like setting up, a text or a Telegram notification or an email or really anything. If all sorts of situations come up, you can like build in these automations to notify yourself.
Yeah. A little alpha that like I don't even think I've spoken to you about this, Stephen, but like in this over here, I want to actually add like an icon with a notification bell, and that notification bell will let you set like price alerts and things, and then like you can trigger it directly. We'll probably use HAL in the background, just because I think, Espresso is still pre-release, but then like on Pangolin, theoretically you can set those. I also think that's a great segue to do a limit order.
Yeah.
Okay, let me withdraw my $15. This is what I love. Like on Ethereum, I'd never be able to take $30 and do like a demo.
Yeah, it costs you 20 cents to deposit that USDC. It's going to cost you another 20 cents to borrow some, especially if you're scaling up. It would be the same 20 cents gas if you were doing this with $1 million. So.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. What do you want to do a limit order? What for TUS?
Should we do one that has like more history on Pangolin? I think that we could do it for TUS, or why don't we use like mainstays of the ecosystem? You could do it. It'd be a little bit messed up. This would be more of a stop loss to do it for time right now. But
But that LP, people were complaining because we reduced the multiplier. But the volume on that, like I was in that pool, like the volume was ridiculous. Like,
yeah, definitely a volume one. Let's see. Ooh, that's a good question. Who do we want to use as the example? I mean, Tesla's fun. There's like, we also one of the really cool super farms is the loot token for police and thief game. I wonder that chart will actually look pretty interesting.
yeah,
they're actually releasing a new version of the game in like 2 days. They like kind of like pause the game for a while, and they're coming out with like new tokenomics that it's like a tri token economy.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to check.
It's actually gonna have some elements of like how chicken works, I think.
Nice. Yeah, we got the super farms. It's like I thought the USD AVAX would. Yeah, we worked on this yesterday actually. Yeah, I was pretty stoked. That's a dope logo too. Hey, there's some like I love like the new UI just for like and like just a little bit of history for people. Sometimes you're gonna see weird information that doesn't match because we pull data, but like often it'll match. Like Y Dragon is a crypto index platform with Cross, and it actually got like links to it, which like I'm a big fan of. Like when because you come to a super farm and you're like, is it a shitcoin? And it's like, well, now you can do your research directly. You can go, oh yeah, grand, like this is cool.
Sweet website. I'm super bullish on like the index type of like protocol, and they're popping up on Avalanche. Some really cool protocols that are doing this. It's like more than half of all of like traditional finance liquidity, right? It's like all in index products, but it's a tiny percent of crypto. So that's definitely going to be a cool space.
Also a big fan. Okay, cool. So limit orders. Let's go back. Yeah.
This is so sleek. Like just for like, not everyone who's watching is like seeing too much of this new UI, but this was like a process that happened incredibly quickly from ideation to execution here at Pangolin. The team's just done an incredible job building out this brand new UI to just take things to the next level. And we're actually, really proud to be white labeling Gelato for the limit orders. So you're going to see Pangolin working really closely with a lot of other protocols in the ecosystem to really just turn Pangolin into a hub for DeFi and GameFi and just really everything that you do on Avalanche in the future. I think the straight up trade that like probably have the most people interested would be like the AVAX stuff too. We could just do stable AVAX limit orders.
Yeah, because you can. So you can actually see, we're actually like at a good price point. Considering, I mean, what the last time it was at price point was, what is that, like November, right? So we're almost like, so I guess it depends whether you feel we're at a macro level. Like a lot of people are saying, again, we're not going to go into crazy economic discussion, but depends on whether you're bullish or bearish. Like AVAX does follow the market too, right? So even though Avalanche is amazing, there are macro trends that are outside of the control of Avalanche. So you can sell or buy, right? So like, let's say for example, you wanted to buy 0.1 AVAX. Okay. Actually, let me do it the other way around. I've got $10 and I want to buy at $65. Oh, don't I have enough? Oh, I've got USDC. Sorry. Oh, that needs to be fixed too. Bear with me. Again, so this is still a beta version. So there are going to be a few odds and ends that do occur.
This is coming in hot in a few days. So this is live product testing for everyone to get the inside scoop.
Exactly. I don't actually have, USDC, that's it.
I think I mean, I don't know if I'm like a legendary like price action trader or anything like that, but you kind of look for these like local minimums, like they'll like returns from concave to convex a lot, or Those are going to be like the local minimums you want to try to buy, because sometimes the price will revisit those levels.
So like, again, like I find this UX a little confusing, if I'm being perfectly honest. We're going to go live with this, but I actually think we'll probably make it slightly easier. So like if you look at a centralized exchange, you don't have to do, you just say, I want this price point and I want to spend this amount of money at that price point. Yeah, you kind of have to kind of do some of the calculations yourself. So it can be quite confusing to get used to it. We're going to go live with this. But what we're going to do is post go live, we're going to open up like a research group. So we'll get like 10 to 20 people and interview them and ask them how they trade. So we'll get a collection of traders. We'll then take that market research and then we'll improve it at the next iteration. So this is currently like the decentralized standard, but I actually think we can make it a lot more intuitive for users. A lot of the feedback I've gotten from early testers is it's a little confusing, and I tend to agree with that. But yeah, we can see taking one AVAX and I'm selling it. So let's actually reverse that so it makes more sense. So let's say I want 10 USDC and I want to buy AVAX when it gets to $65, right? So I'm going to approve the USDC. So this is me taking 10 USDC and saying that I think AVAX will drop to 65. Obviously, if I wanted to sell, then I'd be selling at the top, right? So like if we talk about ladder orders, you want to sell high, buy low, right? But let's just do a basic limit order. And then from there, we can go in. So that's just approved the USDC. Okay, so we just got to wait for this to refresh. So just like, and as an aside, the reason why you have to approve tokens in DeFi is because of the way smart contracts work. So you actually have to approve the ability for protocols to do certain things. Another security tip, that's what happened with Badger. Like Badger, I think it was Badger. Like you went to their site and it was like, oh yeah, approve this token, but it approved like this huge amount. So like, and then
the unlimited approvals. Yeah, you kind of like want to only approve for how much you're actually planning to use in the next day or the next transaction or so. Yeah.
Most people don't. I'm guilty. I'll be honest. Sometimes I'm just like, oh yeah, approve. But it is something you want to be conscious of.
Yeah, definitely. There's some tools out there too to see like what approvals you have out on your wallets too. I have to find the name of those. I'll like post it in the comments later.
Yeah. I think Luigi shared one a while ago, like to the community, which was awesome. Oh, I think Snowtrace does it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'd have to speak to Luigi. I know we were chatting about it a while ago.
We can always circle back on that one too. But
there you go, token approvals.
Check
so it's all in Snowtrace. Yeah, it's awesome.
I didn't know that was there.
Yeah. I dig the Etherscan team behind Snowtrace are awesome, man. This is like, I use this way more than I should. Like I track wallets. I'm like, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna place an order. So we'll place that order. I also love the slide. We're gonna put more slides in the DApp. So like, from a UX point of view, I hate modals. So we're gonna do way more slide-in functionality where like you don't have this thing pop up. Everything just kind of slides in and slides out.
Super sleek.
Okay, so I'm going to confirm that. We also have Saju's working on the limit order widget, which will be live. I'm pretty sure it'll be live when we go live on Tuesday. But for now, what I've been doing temporarily while we complete the testing of that widget is I go to like Gelato.
So this widget just for everyone, you'll see like what it looks like on Gelato natively, but we've like kind of like pulled this protocol into our own UI. So what's actually happening here is the limit orders. You want to see like what limit orders you've already placed and what's pending, what's executed, right? So it would show in our UI, but right now Justin's kind of checking the core underlying protocol and their user interface.
Just want to see that is my wallet. Yeah. Let me just double check that it's gone through Snow Trace. I think it has. Let's clean things up a bit. Yeah. Okay, so there you can see there's my limit order. Okay, and then there you can see it. So we actually have this widget, which it's just kind of in development at the moment. So this widget will appear on this page, but like as a temporary solution, when I've been testing this with the team, I've gone to Sorbet Finance to confirm it. But you won't need to do that when we go live. You'll be able to do it directly through Pangolin. And that's a limit order. Yeah. Do we want to, like, I think we've got 10 minutes. We didn't even get a chance to get into the crab maths. Like, what do you want to say?
I'm good if I just get to say crab math a lot of times. If you want, I can give people like a quick deep dive. Pangolin's been like working really closely with a lot of different GameFi protocols. We're really close with the Chicken Team, Police and Thief, and a growing number of other GameFi protocols that we're really trying to pour a lot of support into. So you'll see like some cool super farm products in the future that allow you to trade these products really frictionlessly. But like the question behind all of it is like why trade the tokens? Like what's all the hype about? So I think that's part of what trading is, when you're buying these tokens that are like game tokens, but some of them have really great economies around them, and if you're willing to bet on the game pulling in more users, there's some really interesting things to explore here. So if you want, I can dive into like how the game works.
I think so. Like I was skeptical like for a while, right? Like, but I'm converted.
All right, I'm gonna tee this up over here. Cool. So I can do a screen share.
Yeah, cool. I'll stop mine.
All right, so anyways, here's a whole bunch of crabs. So the way the game kind of works is you have these crabs. It's kind of like crypto Pokemon. You basically send them. Oh, did they just put this little CoinGecko ticker on the top? I think that literally just happened today.
Oh, nice. Good on them.
Yeah. Anyways, like that's kind of awesome. Gotta love it. So, yep, these are expensive crabs. They're crab NFTs, but I think like we're moving past a point where, and I love like crypto punks and Bored Apes. Like those are really cool products to help get people into NFTs and discover the value there and open up the design space. But I think like GameFi is this like really interesting hybrid of like all of the same like dynamics you're used to seeing in DeFi plus NFTs. So you kind of like make a team of 3 crabs, and with those crabs you actually send them on mining expeditions. So I'll kind of cut to the chase. Like right now they're in this like stage where they're building, and they're going to come out with like a full player versus player model where it's similar to like Axie Infinity or fighting like a team of Pokemon with another team of Pokemon. And right now the way the game works is kind of simple. It's almost like a gamification of like mining or like being a validator almost, because you send your crabs out, they come back with this like treasure under the sea. If you don't have like a super strong team, people can come and loot you and steal some of your rewards, but people are also spending a ton of that treasure under sea token to breed more crabs, and that's done a great job of taking the token out of supply. And if you look at the price of the token, it's done a really good job over the last few days and weeks. I think it came out in November, and there's literally already more activity on Crabada's marketplace, people buying crabs, like than there is on Axie Infinity. It literally doubled the volume yesterday of all of Axie Infinity, and the market cap of Crabada tokens is like a 50th of all of Axie Infinity.
So can I ask a question? Like, so Axie Infinity is obviously very big in Philippines, right? So, a lot of people, from my understanding, from low income countries are using Axie Infinity as a viable way of creating like, like basically a job for people in poorer socioeconomic countries. How does Crabada, because a lot of people that come to me say, well, it's too expensive to get into. So do you think that's going to be something that's addressed, or do you think it's not really part of the roadmap?
It's a good question. I don't know if I am 100% certain on the roadmap for it, but I do believe that they have the intention of opening this up to broader audiences. One of the ways that this worked in Axie is that they it wasn't, I don't know if it was actually designed by the team. It might have almost been a sort of beautiful accident. I'm not positive about it, but there's this concept that they call scholarships. And the way this works is you almost have someone buys the actual team and owns the Axies. But as the game gets more and more intensive, time intensive to play, you might not be able to actually play with all of your teams. So they and they actually also limit it almost so you can only play from one team or so from each IP address. They make it kind of challenging to have multiple teams. And they the idea is the way that the Axie Infinity system is set up is that you actually have the crabs in a MetaMask wallet or something like that, but then you make an account with a traditional email password, username password kind of thing, and it's linked to that wallet. So you could give someone else the username and password without ever being concerned about them actually being able to steal your NFTs. So you can let someone else use your teams. I think that Crabada might do a more advanced move, and they might make it just fundamentally possible for someone else to manage your team. Curious to see how they execute on it, but they seem to be cutting edge with everything. So yeah, right now this game is pretty straightforward. It's you send your crabs on these mining missions, and let's see if I can just go to their site to show this one on the white paper, and I'll give a quick deep dive on how mining works and some of the ways that I would personally go about building a model for it. Mining. Gameplay. I could probably get lost in this white paper for a little too long. Play and earn. It's probably in this section, I think. Yeah, so you kind of send your crabs underwater to collect treasure undersea, and if you kind of win your mining mission, you would get 303 TUS and a few of the CRA tokens. So it's it's 303.75 TUS and 3.75 of the CRA tokens. But so you send your team out, and it kind of has a combined amount of battle points, which is an aggregation of a few of these different strength, defense kind of metrics on your crab. But someone else can come and loot you. So if they kind of overpower you, you can actually lose 2/3 of your TUS to them. So looting can be an extremely profitable thing. I'm going to focus on the mining side because I think that's key for getting your head around as you're considering getting into this game. But yeah, that's you can actually hire reinforcements and defend yourself from the looters, and the looters can also hire reinforcements. Down the road, they're going to have more of a game like this where it's truly player versus player and more a chess or a Pokemon style thing happening in real time. Each mission's 4 hours, and you have the opportunity to get 303 TUS. So if you look at the price of TUS, yeah.
So another question: Do you think it's a zero-sum game, or is it so? Yeah, so let's talk about that. So if there's 10 players and there's everyone's put in $1,000, there's what is that, $10,000? Does there ever be more than $10,000, or is it a zero-sum game? So some people are gaining other people's tokens, but not everyone's going up.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. The like Crabada ecosystem as a whole could be pulling in more capital though. Like if people are trying to buy more crabs and people are breeding more crabs, like and people are actually like profiting from selling those. Like there's kind of like this organic growth of the like NFT itself, and there's definitely like new emissions of like the TUS token coming into play in like a predictable fashion. But if you're willing to bet that like more people are like going to be attracted to playing this game, and that has like some like viral aspect to it, I would say it's not a zero sum game in that regard. But if the game was like just like not growing, it was totally stable, it would be like a sort of zero sum game. And then if it was like shrinking, it would be kind of like worse than a zero sum game. But if you think it's growing, it's like there's some really interesting opportunities with it. I think like two of those interesting opportunities are mining and breeding. So like the mining math is like super simple. Right now, TUS 32 cents. We might go over by a few minutes. Justin, you have the timer?
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I don't think I got a meet. I think I might have another meeting. Let me just double check. But I mean, I can be a little late. Yeah, I'll be a little late for that one. The other question, the other comment I'll make is I agree with you. I wouldn't say it's a zero-sum game because what's going to happen is you're going to get speculators coming into the market looking for the next Axie. They're not even going to play the game. They're just going to speculate on the token. And that then theoretically brings more cash into the ecosystem.
Yeah, totally true. Like this isn't just players. They can just buy TUS or just buy CRA, very passive standard investment strategy. They're just trading on Pangolin. But you also can like play the game and like earn while you're having fun. So like I don't like the play to earn thing. I like play and earn more a little bit more. But yeah, like you're having fun while you're doing this. So basically like I'm just gonna walk through some assumptions. Again, like not financial advice, but this is definitely some Degen crab math. The 32 cents for TUS. So crabs, this is another thing I'd have to update right now. They're changing some of the game dynamics, so definitely take a look at that before making any power moves. But what I originally did, which I think there's almost like a dominant strategy in Crabada, and I think that these like bulks were sort of like if rock paper scissors shoot. If we were playing rock paper scissors shoot, like the pure bulks were almost like rock, but rock won every single time, and they're making the game more balanced. But if you look at like Axie Infinity, I think that the bulks kind of remind me of like this like plant class, which are kind of like a cornerstone of almost all teams. So you're going to see like a lot of interesting like dynamics around these.
This is an awesome point. This is why Chainlink's random, like Chainlink has this ability to create randomness outside the blockchain. That's why it's so important for GameFi.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like these. Well, on what level? It's true in so many ways, but what in particular were you thinking about?
Well, just in the randomization, right? Because if you're not having randomized results, well, then you'd have one class which will start to dominate, right? Because it's not truly randomized. So then theoretically, people could they could predict that randomization factor if it's not. I mean, nothing's ever truly random, even with a supercomputer. But the degree of randomization could be interpreted and then hacked.
Yeah, it's definitely this like you need to be able to assume that like the random numbers are very random, and nothing's ever completely truly random in cryptography, but you can make it like extremely random to the point where it's too taxing to ever try to hack it. So so like you can look at these like pure. So if I just like look at the only the bulk class here, and I would recommend like people like make diversified teams and not just look at bulks. I think bulks are still valuable as parts of teams, but the cheapest bulk right now out of the whole thing is this guy here. Someone's selling one for 11,420 TUS. But if you want to look at the pure ones, the reason why you might want to look at the pure ones is like if the battle points are what matter for this like idle mining game. So this guy is like 210, but this one over here has 237 battle points. So he's more likely to win in these fights. So the pure ones for the bulks have the highest battle points. 237 is the highest out of really any crab's battle points, and why this was totally the meta to have like team of 3 pure bulks. So I'm going to use like these like 16,500 is like the sort of floor price of a pure bulk right now. So if you look at that, 1,600, yeah, 16,500. So I mean, yeah, these are not cheap NFTs. They're $5,000, $5,280, and you need 3 of them for a team. But like, what makes this worth it? So you can send them on mining missions. They're 4 hours, so you could do 6 mining missions every day. If each mission you come back with 303 TUS, and you also get the CRA token, but I would argue it's sort of nominal in this calculation, and I'm just going to skip it.
And
so you get
TUS, that TUS mine, is that the upper bound, or is that kind of like an average bound?
So like, this would actually, you'd have to like actually be sending your crabs on these mining missions every 4 hours.
But that's not guaranteed. That 303 is not guaranteed, right? So you should probably put a probability factor in there. You're not always
I can throw another number in. So when I originally made this, it was before they came out with this concept called factional advantage. But basically before that came out, which will be implemented in like the next 2 weeks or so, they said, I think on like Wednesday, that it would be 15 days. So I think it's another like 14 days of this meta, and then there's like going to be some like changes to the meta. But if you bought the pure bulk crabs, there was almost no one that could loot you. So it was like almost like a purely dominant strategy, like as if in rock, paper, scissors, shoot, if rock always won. So I don't think that was sustainable for the long term, but it's true for the next 14-ish days. So you're very right, though. Like, depending on what the strategy is, this number needs to be kind of changed to be accurate, and we can fiddle with that. I'll just do the whole thing, and then let's change some assumptions. So so if you didn't sleep, you sent your crabs on 6 mining missions a day perfectly, you'd come back with 303 TUS every time. Every 24 hours, that would be 1,818 TUS, which right now at 32 cents a piece is $581 a day. Oh yeah, I was literally looking at how many, if there's 14 days more left in this current meta, that's how much you could still recoup in the next 14 days on your investment. Right now, you could like make back like 50% of your NFT.
Yeah.
It's like almost guaranteed. You might lose like 1% of your mines if someone has like a legendary pure crab.
But like if you had 10 grand, you went to Benqi, loaned $5,000, or you couldn't use.
Well, you wouldn't be able to do it with Benqi. You have to have more.
Yeah.
Then you're locking up your collateral. But if you like did it on margin or something like that, I don't know.
But we're not recommending. We're not recommending that.
Yeah. But this means like if you were earning like $581 a day, though, this is
decent. That's
an
very
ROI
good money. I mean, that's correct. I mean, this is where I think like it'll be cool if you start seeing guilds start popping up. And if people are watching and they can't afford that, well, find 5 or 10 of your friends, form a guild.
I think guilds can often be like where those scholarships are happening, even if the infrastructure isn't rolled out by Crabada. Like the guilds can like race to that opportunity and then like manage crabs and then give like a rev share to the people that are actually managing or like doing the like daily work of sending the crabs on missions or playing with them as the game gets more rich. So this is like this is the other side of it, right? So that's sending your crabs on mining missions, and we can fiddle with some of the assumptions there if you want. Like if you do it like 5 times a day or 4, and you actually sleep 8 hours a day, you're still getting like a 857% ROI. And you're still making your crab investment back in 42 days. But I do expect some turbulence in this strategy exactly. But I think it provides a helpful mental model still.
Okay. I think I might have to jump off though. But I mean, we're doing this weekly, right? So I'm pretty sure we can. I think let's wait for the week to get like feedback from the community. I'm sure lots of people will message both of us, and then like we can kind of collate that feedback into what we can expand more upon.
Cool. Yeah, we're really curious, like what everyone thinks. Like, drop some comments in, reach out if you have any like special requests for Degen Hours of the future, and we'll leave the Crabada breeding for next time.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, man. I don't think we need to end off. We can just close it off. I don't know if we want to closing thoughts. Join us next week.
Thanks everyone for joining. Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.